Hey, how's everybody doing? So, I am home now, and I went to give blood, right? Look at this. My vein looks a little off color. I went to give blood, and they weren't sure if they could put the blood back in me. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, if you're clotting, that clotting blood can't go back in you. So the machine was going off and it was clotting. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do without my blood? You know, how much blood are we talking about here? And they're like, well, if it's this much blood, we're just going to sit you down and give you a Gatorade and then just make sure you don't faint. But if it's this much blood, you're not going to be able to come back for like, I don't know, 2 months or something like that. So I actually had this arm poked first, right? And then I had, yeah, I still feel like I'm kind of sore. And then I had this other arm poked. So that's what happened today. And they're like, if you don't finish halfway through, then you don't get all your money. So I'm like, well, I'm going to finish, right? Because I'm not going to sit here and go through this for nothing. So I want to talk about something about court today. So Kevin Leandro's like, I don't know why he brought this up. No idea. I had told my husband his paternal rights were over. He terminated them. He neglected his kids. It's been like almost 2 years and he has not reached out to them. He hasn't bothered with them. And this includes his other two sons too. He hasn't bothered with them, right? So according to Colorado law, if you're here 6 months, you're a resident. And if you don't bother with your kids, you pretty much have already given up your rights. So I have no idea why Kevin brought this up today. My son is 18. There's no custody. There's nothing, right? So something for a post-abortive woman, I think for a lot of us, is sometimes when we have our kids, we fear losing our kids because we already lost one, right? So we fear that. So with that in mind, I was like, I just want to get through this long enough, fight long enough. One of the reasons, not all of it, one of the reasons was to fight long enough to make sure my son wasn't going to go back to dad because he doesn't want to. There's no relationship. The other reason why I stuck through this is for the truth of what really happened, right? My husband agreed that I would come to Colorado Springs. So there was no separation because he agreed to it. And that's what I told the court today. Kevin Leandro went like this. Blah, 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 blah. In court, we had a half hour. The judge is like, I'm going to make you be aware of the time. Hold on, I'm almost done. Blah, 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 blah. I think I had 6 minutes or something. Then when I was talking, interrupting. So, he really didn't want me to get my voice in there today, but I did. And so I had said, basically, my husband's lied. He's committed perjury. There is domestic abuse, and we're going to prove what kind of character he has. And then there was the whole thing with Mr. Bolt. And Kevin Leandro's like, Mr. Bolt has no interest in you. And I never said that he did, right? So then there was that. And then somebody in my comment section said, Kevin's like, we never accused her of having an affair. I'm like, it's in an email that he has accused me to have an attempted affair. Why are we talking about this? What is going on, right? This is between Gabe and I. We had an issue and we straightened it out. Me and him. It's got nothing to do with Kevin Leandro. So Kevin Leandro wanted to start trouble and starts bringing something from a long time ago into the courtroom, right? It doesn't belong in the courtroom. This is something that we solved. It says in Scripture, when you have an issue or a complaint against somebody, go to that person. And if that person doesn't hear you, take it to the church. And if the church doesn't hear you, treat him like a tax collector. So Gabe and I straightened this out, and we're all good. So now this is being used in my divorce from 2017, right? We're talking 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Like almost 7 years later. So, whatever miscommunication we had, we're good. And my husband is trying to and Kevin, trying to use this. Kevin's like, we never said this. And I'm like, you have it in writing. that you accused me of going to KW, which I had actually talked to some people at a restaurant I talked about, and it was a pastor I knew who worked there. And the pastor is very well known. He does real estate and he pastors. So was I chasing him? No, not at all. So I wasn't chasing anybody, right? I just was looking at the real estate class because the people I know were saying if you get into real estate, it's good money, right? Plus, I knew in 2022, I think I signed up for December 2021 with a lady, and she happened to have an opening, and I didn't even know it was KW. I had no idea she was affiliated with KW. I thought she was a total separate business on her own. So why would I have been doing that, right? So basically I had gone 2021, took her class 2022, January, to find more resources because the landlord put the rent up by $300. And I'm looking at this and I'm looking it up and I'm like, that does not sound right. How can he legally do this? So I talked to other people. And then I'm like, I'm going to take a class. I'm going to get in on the MSL, information, etc. Find us housing. So this is what I get for going the extra mile to find us housing. Then Kevin Leandro says, I said today, he says all the property's been split. No, it hasn't. I have a Sears card that's out that I already was sending them payments before we moved. Lost track of that with all the moving and all the chaos. I owe them some money. Washer, dryer, he has, that is mine. All those tools in his shed that I went and got because he was too lazy to go to Sears and replace his tools, I got those. So that's going in the property thing. I'm the one who had to go shopping and try to figure out which tools were what. He was with me, but I had to go there and I had to speak up and say, hey, no, actually, we do want this tool replaced too. And I remember at one point they're like, well, we can't replace this tool at Sears. And I'm like, well, where are the other stores that you can replace it? And I think we had to go all the way to Manchester to get that tool. So that's the work of my hands, right? Because he was too lazy. And I asked him for a list and he listed out all the tools he had. And he doesn't want to give me a thing. He's a very selfish man. Lying about domestic abuse. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is if he's being taken advantage of in some way by his family or Kevin Leandro. Otherwise, he just sits there in court and takes no accountability at all. Just sits there and he's quiet. And the other thing is, if he had a problem with anything that I told him in my marriage with my work, he should have dealt with it then. And he didn't. He knew how I felt about some things and he never dealt with it. So this is on him totally. And another thing is his parents too were very rude to me. They were like, oh, if we ever thought you spanked your kids, we would take them away. I'm like, go for it, go right ahead. I have every right to spank my kids. I didn't say that, but I'm like, yep, okay, you're in my home visiting. And you're threatening me, it's basically like we didn't want to invite them over later because they were such a pain in the butt. Seriously, they were. And my husband was like, I don't want them to know where we're living in Webster. I don't want them to know. I'm like, look, your dad just had cancer. We probably should try to, try a little harder to try to think of them, even though they've been rotten to us. So we had them over, and my husband didn't even want them over. He did not want them over because he thought they were a pain in the butt. And they had done all kinds of things. And we just didn't really want to bother with them because they were being so rotten. So, in their old age, I think they've mellowed out and they're probably a little bit nicer. I don't know. Donna's like on Facebook, your mother needs to work. I already work. Kevin's like, she isn't working. I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm door dashing. I haven't had work though in like 3 days, and my vehicle is like needing parts, so I am not working at like today and the last few days. I haven't been working because I haven't had anything. So yeah, Kevin You know, he likes to make things up about my work. And then, yeah, so they weren't being very nice to us. And then Ben was just like, I've had it with them. They're just so toxic, extremely a pain in the butt. So, you know, maybe now they're being nice. Donna's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'll never say that again on Facebook. Yeah, I told her basically to go mind her own darn business. The woman's got nothing to do. She's in everybody's business. She's like one of those gossips in town, right? And she threw my reputation, totally tried to ruin my reputation. She's got major issues, so I don't bother with her. I don't have a relationship with her. I don't see her. I don't desire to see her. I saw something with my husband's name with the New Hampshire lottery, and I'm like, good for him. If he won the lottery, good for him. There's nothing they can do to make me want a relationship with them. There's nothing at all. I mean, so what if they've got money? Most people, like my husband, who can't work at things, can't keep money anyways. I mean, what's he going to do with it? You know? He can't even earn enough money to take care of his family. Somebody said this to me years ago, you know, he should be working a lot more. And I just thought, no, the time the kids are grown and out of the home, we'll have the money just for me and him. And, you know, we're already minimalists, so it won't be that difficult to just, you know, now have me and him. And he still doesn't want to take care of responsibilities. So I should have seen it then, but I didn't. And lesson learned, ladies. My phone doesn't want to shut off. Okay, maybe I'll keep talking.